Everything I am about to show comes from an old medical manual, a 1926 edition of the United States Dispensatory, a single volume that influenced prescribing in hospitals and pharmacies for decades. In that edition, about 75% of the preparations listed were plant-based, mineral or animal extracts, a stark contrast with today when that proportion is often reversed. I will walk you through 20 natural remedies that were mainstream then and explain in plain terms why many of them were dropped or sidelined and which ones still make sense. This is evidence-oriented history mixed with practical science. Before you decide any change in therapy, let me be clear about my position. I sell supplements and have promoted some formulations online. I say that to be transparent and to make one promise. I will separate historical fact from modern evidence and call out what is plausible and what is not. So get ready, because number one on the list will surprise you, and the explanation will be scientific but easy to follow. You need context to understand how we went from 75% natural preparations to a much smaller fraction. Picture a timeline. In the 1920s, community physicians relied on formularies and local pharmacopoeias. By the 1940s, industrial-scale pharmaceuticals began to standardize doses and purity. By the 1950s, university curricula shifted towards synthetic chemistry and randomized trials. The result is both progress and loss. Progress because antibiotics and vaccines saved millions. Loss because a repertoire of practical remedies and simple preventive measures was deprioritized. Imagine the smell of a wooden pharmacy shelf in 1926, the metallic clink of glass bottles, the dry, dusty pages of a dispensatory, and a pharmacist named Ruth Williams handing over a small amber bottle. That tactile and olfactory archive gives weight to what numbers sometimes flatten. I want to be critical of the current system without romanticizing the past. Modern medicine reduces iatrogenic harm in many cases, but it also struggles with polypharmacy and an over-reliance on pills rather than lifestyle measures. Polypharmacy means taking many drugs at once, often without a clear net benefit, and it increases adverse reactions. Iatrogenic harm is real, and it is often underreported. In clinical terms, many chronic problems respond well to simple interventions that were once first line but now are seen as complementary at best. Listen to this brief exchange I had last month in a university archive with Dr. Helen Carter and Nurse Maria Lopez while we flipped pages and handled historic glass vials. I asked Dr. Carter what surprised her. Dr. Carter said, "I never appreciated how much reliance there was on simple oils and concentrates." I replied, "But modern trials often ignore those agents." Nurse Maria added that she could smell the old cod liver oil even through a sealed jar. Dr. Carter answered, "That smell is memory, and sometimes memory points to an efficacy signal worth testing." That short back and forth shows how sensory detail and professional curiosity can fuel research questions. Now the moment you came for the list. I will number each entry and give a short historical use, a simple mechanism, and a safety note. Number 1. Oil of cod liver was a routine supplement for children for prevention of rickets because it contains vitamin D and vitamin A. It tastes fishy, it is oily on the tongue, and can cause nausea in weak stomachs. Number 2. Activated charcoal was used for poisons and foodborne toxins. It absorbs molecules in the gut but must be used promptly and can interfere with medication absorption. Number 3. Niacin, or vitamin B3, was used in high doses to lower cholesterol and to treat pellagra. It causes flushing, a warm tingling sensation, and requires monitoring of liver enzymes in high-dose therapy. Number 4. Willow bark was a common analgesic, a natural source of salicylates. The tea is bitter and aromatic and may irritate the stomach in some people, and should not be mixed with blood thinners. Number 5. Licorice root was used for cough and digestive complaints. Its sweet, chewy root releases glycyrrhizin that can raise blood pressure, so use cautiously. Number 6. Fermented cod liver oil and butter oil blends were combined in some clinics for developmental support. They have a creamy texture and strong scent and are rich in fat-soluble vitamins, though quality varies by manufacturer. Number 7. Colloidal silver appears in many historical texts as an antimicrobial topical agent. It is metallic tasting and can stain skin. It is not recommended internally because of risk of argyria. Number 8. Echinacea was commonly used to prevent and shorten colds with a floral, bitter taste and mild throat tingle. Modern evidence is mixed and preparations vary widely. Number 9. Castor oil was a classic laxative with a viscous, oily mouthfeel used to induce bowel movements. It works by stimulating intestinal motility but is harsh in excess. Number 10. Evening primrose oil was prescribed for inflammatory conditions and skin dryness. It has a nutty flavor and oily mouthfeel and may interact with seizure medications in some cases. Number 11. Turmeric was used as an anti-inflammatory and a topical for wounds. Its warm, earthy aroma stains fabric and contains curcumin, which modulates inflammatory pathways, though bioavailability is low without fats or piperine. Number 12. Black seed oil, Nigella sativa, was used in digestive and respiratory complaints. Its peppery taste and dark viscous texture contain thymoquinone, which has anti-inflammatory effects in lab studies. Number 13. Apple cider vinegar was recommended for digestion and blood sugar control, with a sharp acidic smell and tangy taste. It can erode dental enamel and should be diluted. Number 14. Activated oxygen therapies, like hydrogen peroxide, were used as topical disinfectants. With a metallic, sharp smell, used carefully, they can damage tissue if misused. Number 15. Bromides were once used as sedatives and anticonvulsants. They produce a dulling sensation and were phased out due to toxicity and prolonged half-life. Number 16. Brewer's yeast was a source of B vitamins and had a bready smell and grainy texture, used for deficiency states and appetite support. Number 17. Raw honey was a staple for wound healing and cough, with a thick viscous sweetness. It contains enzymes and antimicrobial peptides, though raw quality matters. Number 18. St. John's wort was used for mood disorders with a bitter herbal taste and photosensitivity as a side effect. It induces liver enzymes and can reduce effectiveness of many drugs. Number 19. Lemon balm was used for anxiety and sleep with a citrus herb scent, calming warmth, and mild tingly taste. It is generally mild, but efficacy varies. Number 20. Magnesium salts, Epsom salts, were used for muscle soreness and constipation with a gritty crystalline texture and mineral odor, absorbable through baths and useful orally with dosage caution for renal impairment. At this point, if you found these entries intriguing, I want to hear from you. If one of these surprised you, write a quick comment with the number and a one-word reaction. For example, type 1 oil for cod liver oil, or type 13 vinegar if apple cider vinegar surprised you. I will read comments and pick the most thoughtful ones to feature in a follow-up video where I bring in a pharmacologist and a historian to examine the evidence. Your feedback helps me choose which items to test further and which to discard as charming but unsupported. If you are skeptical, that is exactly the right reaction. Tell me why, and I will address it in the next episode. That engagement guides the research and creates a community discussion that I do not want to police, but to learn from. Let us step back and draw lessons. Not all old remedies were effective, not all were dangerous, and some were simply supplanted by better options. The drivers for abandonment include inconsistent potency, variable preparations, adulteration, early toxicity reports, and the rise of synthetic alternatives that allowed standardized dosing. There is also economic pressure from industrialization of medicine and from regulatory shifts that favor patented molecules. But history teaches a more nuanced point. Some natural remedies contain active compounds that modern science can isolate and study. The issue is reproducibility and quality control. When a remedy works, it is often because of a measurable biochemical interaction, such as enzyme inhibition, receptor modulation, or anti-inflammatory signaling. When it fails, it usually lacks adequate dosage or has contaminants. A few practical takeaways before we close. First, consult a licensed practitioner before starting any new remedy, and tell them about prescription drugs to avoid iatrogenic interactions. Second, look for manufacturing transparency and third-party testing. If you buy supplements, check for certificates of analysis. Third, prioritize lifestyle changes, diet, exercise, sun exposure for vitamin D, sleep, and stress reduction, because these are often more impactful than a single supplement. I have already mentioned Professor James Monroe, who studies nutraceutical quality, and Omar Khan, a chemist, who runs independent testing labs, and both emphasize measurement over myth. Nurse Maria Lopez in clinical settings and pharmacist Lisa Chen in retail both warned me about raw supply chain issues, and her warnings informed the quality controls I use in my products. If you like the mix of history, science, and practical guidance, hit subscribe so you do not miss the follow-up where I bring in Dr. Helen Carter and Professor James Monroe to review lab data on 3 of these remedies. I will also post links to historical sources and to modern trials in the description so you can read the primary material yourself. Remember, this is not medical advice. It is exploration of history and science, and if you are considering any change, talk to your doctor. The history of medicine is not romantic nostalgia. It is a map of experiments, some of which succeeded, and many of which failed, but all of which teach us. Thanks for watching, and stay curious.